It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hello, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Right on the show today, there's much that's happened over the weekend and we're bringing you our perspectives to all of it. The Indian contingent at the Paris Olympics are fuming after what they believe is a wrongful red card to the Indian hockey player. That reduced India to a 10-man side against Britain in their quarterfinals. How did this impact India and what's to say going forward? Argentina and France's relations only getting more bitter as the two football teams engaged in an ugly physical brawl after their quarterfinal at the Olympics. Despite political top brass meeting, the stalemate continues on the pitch, threatening to gather more enmity in the weeks to follow. Novak Djokovic has done the unthinkable, pocketed the Olympic gold. Is this the biggest sporting achievement of his career? And is he done just yet? And everyone has been talking about the Noah Lyles 100-meter photo finish. Why was he awarded the gold even though his foot did not cross the finish line first? We give you the lowdown right here, but first a look at the headlines. Starting with news from the Olympics, Adam Peaty, a triple Olympic gold medalist, hinted at retirement after the British relay team finished fourth in the 4x100-meter relay medley. Peaty mentioned he might have to step away from the sport because it hurts too much and added that if you're cheating, it is fraud. Peaty was pointing out to the inclusion of Kin Hei Yang and Sun Cha Chun despite testing positive for doping. Belgium have withdrawn from the Olympic mixed relay triathlon at Paris 2024 due to an athlete falling ill. Claire Michel, who finished 38th in the women's triathlon, fell sick. It's still not clear if her illness was due to the water quality of River Seine, where the swimming leg took place. Paris Olympics organizers have again cancelled training for triathletes due to poor water quality. The International Boxing Association will award Angela Carini $50,000 after she withdrew from her welterweight match at the Paris Olympics. Carini was defeated by Imane Khalif in a bout that lasted just 46 seconds. The IBA also announced $25,000 each for Carini's federation and coach. The IBA had lost its international recognition from the IOC last year. Over in table tennis, India women's team beat Romania 3-2 in the round of 16. Despite India leading 2-0, Romania made a comeback with 2 wins. With the tie level at 2-all, Manika Batra produced a straight games win in the final match. And with this victory, India are through to the quarterfinals. And in cricket, Sri Lanka beat India in the second match of the 3 ODI series by 32 runs. Batting first, Sri Lanka posted 240. In response, India were bundled out for 208. Sri Lanka's Jeffrey Van der Sey picked up 6 wickets as they've taken a 1-0 lead in the series. Remember, the first match ended in a tie. Paris Olympics has come under the scanner for a lot of reasons. It has not exactly been a very smooth week. The latest in the series of untoward episodes has been the refereeing. There have been many instances that have caused athletes and teams to question the efficiency of officials across sporting events. Whether it was Coco Gauff, who was unhappy with the umpiring in her match, or Argentina during their football game against Morocco, or the Indian boxers who've even lodged a complaint against what they feel is biased refereeing. Yesterday, it was Indian hockey's turn, who were reduced to a 10-member team on the pitch against Britain in their quarterfinal. The good news for Indian hockey fans, first, they won the match in a nail-biting penalty shootout, despite playing with just 10 players, 1 player less on the pitch for a major part of the game. The star of the match was their most experienced, lion-hearted wall of a player, goalkeeper PR Srijesh, who ensured Britain did not score any more than a single goal during the entire match, and then of course stood like a rock during the penalty shootout. India made it to a consecutive Olympic semi-final, the most valiant performance so far in the games, and it brought everyone gathered at the stadium to tears. But the tears and the joy was short-lived because the larger issue at hand was what transpired during the game. So let's start at the very beginning, 17th minute of the game, when Amit Rohidas, one of India's key defenders, was red carded. Amit Rohidas' stick hit Britain's William Callan in the face. It's against the code of conduct, so even though the on-field umpire initially did not rule the challenge to be a serious offence, the TV umpire changed the decision to that of a red card. After referral, umpire red cards Amit Rohidas, a sight very rare in the sport. In fact, it's only probably the fourth time in 11 years that a player has been red carded in hockey. And India is reduced to a 10-man team. So here's where India is angry. The rules say that a deliberate intent is what determines a player to be red carded, a deliberate intent to injure. But if you saw the replays, of course, you'd realize Amit Rohidas struck William when the Brit was behind him. There was no way that was intentional. He was focused on getting the ball away. India, of course, moved past this and continued to fight tenaciously despite this major setback. Now imagine this. You have a plan in place and at the most crucial moment, something goes horribly wrong because Rohidas was not just playing defense. He was also first rusher, a key component, the first player in the line of fire. India had to calmly and without wasting any time rejig their positions and formations. They had to ensure that with just 9, they managed to score a goal and prevent the opposition from doing the same. And they did that. The India of old, and in this scenario, the India of old would have buckled under pressure, but not this side. Not this side, coached by Greg Fulton, captained by Harmanpreet and goalied by Srijesh. The crowd did not move. No one left as India waged a very difficult war on Britain. That went down to the wire. The penalty strikes by Harmanpreet, Sukhjit, Lalit and Rajkumar sealed the win, even as the very agile and aggressive PR Srijesh blocked 2 of the 4 attempts by Britain. This passage of play also had a controversial moment. The Britain goalie, Ollie Payne, was caught using an iPad in between the penalty shootouts, which India straightaway caught and complained about. Britain was asked to remove that device from the playing area. India faced many challenges and adversaries on Sunday, yet banded together to get past it all. The semi-final is another huge mountain to climb, and Germany stands in their way. They won't have the services of the skilled Amit Rohidas, who has been banned for that one game. They're upset with the inconsistency in the video referrals, despite a complaint being lodged on Sunday, despite asking for a re-look at the red card. The decision stayed firm. IOC, of course, going ahead with that suspension. And the inefficiency of the refereeing is what India is very upset about, all of which has been registered in an official complaint to the tournament director. But none of that can be in their line of vision when they take on Germany on the 6th for a spot in the final. Like Srijesh said post the match, it's 2 more games left and the need to make every minute of those count. We all love an intense rivalry. It brings out the best between 2 individuals or the 2 teams involved. But what happens when that rivalry turns sour into bad blood? When emotions supersede sportsmanship. It turns into a skirmish, a mass brawl and a violent affair. Argentina football team have been knocked out of the Olympics when they lost to France. An early goal from Jean-Philippe Mateta was enough for France to enter the semi-finals. The world champions may have failed to put up a fight during the game, but they were quite feisty in the one that followed the game, the one after the final whistle. The Argentines went down fighting in the most ugly face-off at the Olympics. The fight between the players was hostile. So the support staff had to intervene to try and split them up. And before things could go any more out of control, security personnel ran in to form a ring around Argentina fans in the stadium so that security at the ground wouldn't be compromised. That would have been another nail in the coffin for France as Olympics organizers, especially after a string of security failures in the recent past. And they did not want a repeat of the Argentina-Morocco game where fans ran riot, attacking the players. The root cause of all this, of course, the bad blood that's now threatening to derail French and Argentinian ties beyond the football pitch is all because of that one incident that happened post the Copa America celebrations. Argentina player Enzo Fernandez uploaded a video of him along with some of his teammates singing a racist song, a song that questioned French team's sexual preferences and even their nationality. The problem escalated after Argentina's vice president, Victoria Villarreal, defended the act, saying that the chants were a reality. The matter had escalated rather quickly, so when Argentina players came to France for the Olympics, they were bound to face a strong backlash, despite this set of players not being any of the ones seen in that video, not even having played that final. Because the issue is now not just Enzo and a few other versus France, it's Argentina against France. The team was booed, heckled and attacked in their opening game against Morocco. We all saw that when fans invaded the pitch post the game. A typical French reception in a match that didn't even feature the home team. So what's the political brass been up to while all of this has been happening? Because the vice president's statement definitely rubbed France the wrong way. Argentina President Javier Milei made a visit to France around a little over a week ago, right after that acrimonious welcome that his football team received on the pitch, and met the French President Emmanuel Macron. Tensions had to be quelled, especially after the chants and the statements that were made post it. So you'd think tensions might have subsided a bit. There would be some calm that would prevail over the games here on that involved Argentina. It didn't pan out that way, did it? A hostile crowd booed Argentina's players throughout the match against France. The anguish amongst the French was evident, of course, but what none of us on the outside expected was the anger the players had and how involved they would be in this matter. The ugly scuffle between the players of both countries has made the matter much worse. Yes, you cannot control the fans. You can't put a tab on emotions, but this was an ugly sight. In between the scuffle, a French player was shown the red card. Enzo Milo, who was substituted, was shown a red for his behavior. Now he'll miss the semi-final game against Egypt. Now I won't be surprised if France is not too worried about that. The red was for a good cause. That's what they would be thinking, which is how far the animosity has developed. Argentina players are all fuming. They were booed through the game. They lost a chance of securing a medal. France already had won the game. Could they have acted with more restraint? Was the win not enough to silence Argentina? Clearly not. And one man is very, very upset about this turn of events.
I went to shake the opposing coach's hand, and all of a sudden I saw a lot of things happening. I don't like seeing this kind of thing. It wasn't necessary. We didn't want to lose a player, but it was pointless. He wasn't even playing. I'm really not happy about that.
Thierry Henry's statement sums it up. The match between Argentina and France held more value than just a quarterfinal. Sure, medal was at stake, but also the idea of revenge. From French players, it was all about giving it back to the Argentines. For Argentina, it was about coming out strong in the face of boos and jeers. And to think France did all the hard work even after scoring the winner. Had they left the game in calmness, who knows? This row could have been put to rest, or at least was on its way to being silenced. That's what champion players and champion sides do. Let the results do all the talking. But given the post-match brawl, it's clear that a new rivalry in football is taking shape, a cross-continent rivalry, one between Argentina and France. Stadium packed to the rafters, the crowd buzzing, all TV screens switched on in advance, because this is a you blink and you miss sort of a moment, and everyone's eyes locked on the tense athletes warming up at the marks. I am, of course, describing the 100-meter dash at the Olympics, that one event that everyone sets their timers for. People flock to catch it live. It's one of those bucket list moments to witness for a true sports fan. Sprinters running in hard and, there could be a tight finish. The color of medal changes even by the barest of margins, and this time it did not disappoint, both at the women's and the men's events. It was a phenomenal outright win in the women's. with Julian Alfred putting St. Lucia up on the medals tally, a first-time gold for them. But over at the men's, it was a very different story. When a world champion and Noah Lyles is up against some of the fastest men in the world, the hype has to be unbearable, and it was. And it only intensified after the semi-final because Lyles finished behind Jamaica's oblique Sivelle. Sivelle dishing out a death stare to Lyles right before crossing over the line, telling him that he was the supreme runner here, not Lyles. And there is, of course, history to this war and this rivalry of sorts. Sivelle had engaged in some of these heated moments 2 months back at the Racers Grand Prix 2 and had won that race there. So everyone was expecting Lyles and Sivelle to go head-to-head here too. Lyles was a man under fire, and it was getting a little too hot in there, with the pressure mounting on the American. Lyles was also doing his best to fly under the radar, coming in for the final, wearing a pair of sunglasses, a hat and even a mask to avoid any extra attention. The race threw all expectations out of the window with this photo finish. Sivelle was nowhere in contention here. It was Sivelle's compatriot, Kishane Thompson, who was not just giving Lyles a stiff competition, but also gave the most picture-perfect final moments of the race. Noah Lyles beat Kishane Thompson to gold by 0.005 of a second. Both the runners recorded a time of 9.79 seconds, but Lyles had a 0.784 to his name as compared to Thompson's 0.789. But the picture said something else, didn't it? Let me explain. Thompson's leg crossed the finish line before Lyles. Yes, so why was the gold not awarded to him? Because according to the rule, it's not about any part of the body crossing the finish line first. In this case, of course, Thompson's leg. That does not determine the outcome of the race. It's the athlete's torso that has to cross the finish line first. The torso of a person includes the chest, abdomen, pelvis and back. Shoulders included, of course, and Lyles' torso was ahead of that of Thompson. This was the slightest of margins that separated the gold medal from the silver. So it wasn't just the 0.005 of a second that separated the two medalists, but it was more importantly the torso, and that's not an easy thing to do because the natural impetus a fast-moving body will have is towards the back, to push out the leg forward faster to cross the line. Lyles made sure his body moved forward too, just in time, about an inch ahead of Thompson in a historic finish. Champion stuff this. Lyles may have proclaimed himself to be the heir of Usain Bolt, and the American is actually going about his way proving to be so. World Championship and now an Olympic gold. And he isn't just battling on the field, he's battling issues outside too. Right after his gold medal win, Lyles tweeted this. He has asthma, allergies, dyslexia, ADD, anxiety and depression, and had a simple message. He said if he can do it, why couldn't the rest? If he can fight all of this and his competition on the track, anyone could do it too. If there is one image that many will remember this weekend by, it has to be this one. Novak Djokovic conquering what many feel is the final frontier, the biggest hurdle that was possibly keeping many away from uttering that word, some did not wish to, in connection to his name, the GOAT. An Olympic gold at 37 and against a player who was much favoured, against a player who's won 2 Grand Slams this year, against Carlos Alcaraz who had defeated Novak Djokovic just some weeks ago. And that's not all. What are the challenges Novak Djokovic has had to overcome this year before completing a historic career slam? And he's done, and is he done just yet? Take a look at what the Serb himself feels about this.
If turning a reel to a reality were a thing, Novak Djokovic would be the brand ambassador of it. From dreaming about the Olympic gold to finally holding it in his hands, Djokovic has added another glorious chapter to his already overflowing resume. The match against Carlos Alcaraz wasn't just the fight for gold. It was a revenge match for the heartbreaking loss at the hands of Alcaraz at Wimbledon last month. So when Djokovic beat him in straight sets, grueling sets nevertheless, he ended more than 15 years of wait for the prized medal. Having won bronze at the Beijing Olympics and the French Open in 2016, the only thing missing from Djokovic's cabinet was that Olympics gold. So when he finally won it, he called it the biggest success of his career.
The fact that I won bronze in the first Olympic Games and ever since then have failed to win the medal and then now at age 37 against a 21-year-old who is probably the best player in the world right now. Just when I take everything in consideration, this probably is the biggest sporting success I've ever had in my career.
Djokovic is part of an elite list with this win. After Steffi Graf, Andre Agassi, Rafael Nadal and Serena Williams, Djokovic becomes the fifth player to complete the most coveted career Golden Slam. But walking into the match, Djokovic wasn't the favourite. Alcaraz was the top contender to win a gold medal after having won the French Open and the Wimbledon title. Alcaraz was expected to emulate Rafael Nadal's heroic in 2008. And had Alcaraz won the match, he would have been the youngest to win the gold. But the 37-year-old's spirit came in between. Because looking back at the year that was for Novak, it was a forgettable one of his worst years on the circuit since he claimed the world #1 ranking. He was knocked out in the Australian Open semi-final, suffered a knee injury in the French Open quarterfinals, came back after an injury, lost in the Wimbledon final to Alcaraz, and just when everyone felt his fighting spirit has probably left the building, Djokovic has come back stronger than ever, a trait that makes him one of the greatest to ever play the game. Despite all his heroics, Djokovic isn't one of the most loved tennis players on the circuit. Even during the time when Djokovic was battling the other big two, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, he was always the third in line. Despite being almost as accomplished as the other two, his on-field tantrums and outbursts did not help his image. Then of course came the reluctance to get vaccinated, and his stubborn stance rubbed many people the wrong way. Djokovic hasn't just broken records, but rackets too. His aggressive intent on court has left many to look at him with a mix of awe and grudging respect. They may not like to see him win so much, but they can't help admiring him for the same. The Serb, though, seems unbothered by that. He keeps adding trophies and medals and tries to reiterate that he's the greatest of all time. Djokovic has the most number of Grand Slams between the big three, and the Olympic gold now as well. He's only marginally behind Roger Federer in the total number of ATP trophy titles. But is there much more left in Djokovic's tank? Well, he certainly believes so.
Being on that court with Serbian flag raising and singing Serbian anthem and carrying the gold around my neck, I think nothing can beat that really in terms of professional sports. I want to play in Los Angeles. I really enjoy playing for my country in an Olympic Games particularly, and in Davis Cup.
By 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, Djokovic would be 41 years old, and that is some goal. But again, that comes with the territory of the GOAT, wanting to be the best at all cost, and doing all he can to get there, no questions asked, and without any debates.
Time for last serve. Now, winning a gold at the Olympics is a dream for many athletes. But for badminton player Huang Yacha, that dream had a cherry on the cake. Because after the gold, Yacha's partner Yu Chen, also a member of China's badminton team, went down to make a proposal. One Yacha couldn't refuse. A very happily ever after indeed for Yacha and Yu Chen at the Paris Olympics, and what a stage to do it at. That wraps up First Sports here today. I'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care.
Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. My name is Utsav Parekh and here are the top stories of the day. We begin with the biggest headline from South Asia. Chaos in Bangladesh has reached a new peak. The latest reports coming in say that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina may have stepped down amid the ongoing protests in the country. Sheikh Hasina has reportedly also fled Bangladesh and is possibly en route to Helsinki in Finland. Bangladesh has been facing violent